Hey everyone, it's Kyle. It's been a little while since we've had a check-in on a new miner. So we're going to run through our newest setup. What I have here is a 8-inch AC infinity fan that will be cooling off our newest Iceriver KS1. We will be using a fan shroud from Fruition Designs. This will basically remove these 4 fans, which are what typically is the loudest parts of ASIC miners. They're the ones that make these borderline unbearable to have in a home. This setup here is pretty quiet. It will be in my basement. Hopefully, won't even be able to tell it's running other than the power draw and the hash rate. Was originally gonna do a little bit of a step-by-step with the wiring. And as I kind of got thinking about it, I decided not to do that. And the reason for that is I just don't know everyone's skill level, how comfortable they feel working around home electric. This is a 170 volt machine, but it does accept 240 volts. So I had to run a separate line into a different outlet. All of that is stuff that I felt comfortable doing. But as I thought about it more, I thought this maybe isn't best for someone who doesn't have some experience doing it. If you decide to do any kind of work on your electrical stuff, this is a voltage detector. I got this off of Amazon. It basically will take, if you have a line plugged in and there's power to the line, it will let you know that there's power there. So that tells me that this line is hot. It's hooked up to our fan, so whenever we start using it later, it'll work. Okay, so I have kind of went through these instructions a little bit, but I'll do these mostly on the fly. Hopefully it's a smooth install. All the products here are pretty good. They have all the screws needed, fan emulators, everything that we should need to get this up and running using this fan. So we'll start out here by taking this shroud off. There's 4 screws that we need to remove. And again, we'll want to make sure that we keep all of these. There was a plastic film that was on this side of the power supply. So once we get on the inside of it, I'm going to take that off too. I personally do not like the film. I don't think it would hurt anything to leave it on, but I just don't like it. So consider that a personal preference. All right, so this should come off just like this. So this is your inner workings of the miner. So I'm gonna peel this off real quick, get all this loose plastic away. So if you're looking in here, I'll take this towards you. These 2 cables are feeding the 2 hash boards. This is what actually makes the machine work. If you can't tell, there's actually 2 more slots over here. So I don't know if Iceriver uses one case that is used for the KS1, KS2, and KS3. But it's exciting to me because not only does it have the slots here, but there are more slots on the control board. So there might be an option in the future that we can expand this. So if you take one of these apart and it's a used model, something that's been plugged in, this is your main distribution, these blocks right here. So you want to make sure you're careful whenever you touch them. So I'm going to disconnect this here from the control board. And we're going to have to remove these wires temporarily so we can get the fans unhooked. Everyone I've seen that's done this says that these fans are routed pretty tightly in there. So we're going to give ourselves as much extra room as possible. So we have our power cable off. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of room. So I'm going to start with these back here just so it's kind of in front of me and I can see. So these, I don't know the exact sizes, but they look just like a standard 120 millimeter fan. And there's nothing wrong with these fans. They're just 4 of them. They're really loud, and I would prefer this to be quieter in my house. I don't quite have a great location to keep it running and not have it keeping us up at night. If you have not heard one of these run, they are extremely loud. All right, so we got this first one disconnected, and it is this cable. So we will wiggle this loose gently. You never quite know how these were put on or what's happened in shipping, so let's not be crazy with it. We will weave this through. Like I said, there's not a lot of room. I may actually have to take it doesn't show me needing to take this off, but I want to go ahead and take this off because I think I'll be able to get it out a little easier if I do. So I want to take these other two screws out. The paperwork doesn't say that you need to. I'm actually just going to slide this over. And as you get down here to the end, there's tape on most of it. Then at the end, there we go. So far that one looks good. Let's wiggle this one out too. And there's no clips on here that are holding it in. We just want to, like I said, be careful with it. So once you go inside these, you just never know how your warranty is going to go. All right, so those are all good. Then we replace these with these fan emulators. These essentially just trick this machine into thinking it has a fan. And the red side goes up. So we have these done. We'll go ahead and unhook. Try not to touch any of the parts of the board if possible. It's not really expecting to have grease and oil from your hands on it, so if you can avoid that at all possible, I would highly recommend doing that. So I'll go ahead and put this plate back on the back. And everything's going to be just hand snug. We don't want to go too crazy with this stuff. This one doesn't have, I think, quite as much room as the other one to get these out. So let's take this one off, back these out a little bit. What I'm wanting to do is just to slide this plate up. Through, wiggle that one through. Now we'll put this back on, make sure everything's lined back up the way it was. You don't want to hit your reset button or your Ethernet cable button, or your Ethernet cable, covering it up to where you can't get to it. And with any computer parts, if it doesn't feel like it's going in snug, back it out. You don't want to end up stripping something, because if you strip out one of these boards, you're done with the whole board. All right. This one's a little bit off center because I think of this plate. Okay, so we'll go ahead and continue taking these fans off. And these fans are still good. They're 4-pin fans that you can use on a computer or anything else. Nothing crazy. Also, probably not worth selling either if that's what you're thinking of doing. I'll put all this over here out of the way. And then the front ones. We will also have to take this grill off of the front. The instructions do say to lay it on its side. So I will lay it on its side facing me. Okay, so let me get these fans over out of the way. We are just about done with this open spot. Now I will say I have seen some people that would move the hash boards over. I'm going to leave them alone for now. I don't know if it's going to make that big of a difference to swap them. If so, you can see it's pretty easy to get in here and I'll just move them. Like I said, I don't have a degree in thermodynamics or anything like that, so I can't sit here and tell you that this is going to work better if we do it this way or that way. So far everything up here is done. So we're going to reconnect our power. This is just a 6-pin connector. It does seem that there are certain order to these. That one didn't want to reach. All right, so all of this is back together. So now the next thing it says to do, I'm going to roll this towards me, take the screen off of here. So this will actually be away from you for a second. The way the instructions make it out that whenever I take this fan screen guard off, it will keep the fan in its orientation. So we'll see. This looks like if anything's going to be a struggle with this shroud, getting this part is probably going to be the one that is a little bit of a struggle. So we'll take our time here. So there are 4 screws that have a really aggressive thread to it, and we need those for this part. So this goes around the factory fan, so we will lay this way. It also has these feet on here, which looks like it'll actually stabilize it better, so I kind of like that. This is also a pretty thick and well-made product. We are not endorsing. We did not get any of this stuff for free. Actually, none of these companies know who we are, who I am, so anything you hear from me is just my absolute honest opinion on it. Hopefully this is all gonna work out well. I'm going to slide this a little farther back to me because that edge that this has is hitting the table, and it says to put this screw in first. So we're going to start here up in this top corner. Okay, I am not going to tighten this completely down until I get all these in here. And we're dealing with 2 different companies, and if one of their manufacturing specs is a little bit off, then all of this is going to be off. And these are a little difficult to get into, but not too bad. Actually, this is a really good little, it has a little cutout in here that your screwdriver can fit in. So that's actually good. And I'm gonna hand tighten these, and I'm gonna do kind of like in a crisscross pattern. Not that I think that it maybe matters too much, but just to be on the safe side, I don't wanna strip these screws out. I don't wanna torque this shroud down. My guess is any sort of distortion on this could keep the air from flowing smoothly. Okay, so we have those 4 in, and next there are 8 screws that go around the perimeter. Let me count these. 2, 4. All right, so I'm just going to start going around the perimeter. And like I said, I'll only tighten these about halfway down until we get to the point that I can flush them all down evenly. I think these top ones a little too tight, so it's getting it a little off center, so I'm just going to loosen them up. There we go. When I had these top ones tightened, it was pulling it out of alignment with the bottom one, so I just loosened them up a couple turns. And it looks like we are, yeah, this one is threading in good. Again, sometimes you can't put them all down at the same time. You just got to go in an order that puts a even pinch on these, like putting a tire on. All right, I have 2 more to put in. And this one is just a bit off, but I can see it's close. These are traditional, I assume, steel screws going into aluminum, and we don't want these to chew out the threads. I don't know if you can get replacement panel parts for these, and I don't want to be the first one to find out. All right, and there's one more. There it is. Let me look at this one. This one's a little bit. Just slightly to the left of this. All right, I'll come back and get that one after we're done. Okay, so this is the front side. This is where the air will be going through. up. I actually am really pleased with how easily it is to get to these screws. I have that one that's just being a little bit of a pain to get on, but it's fine. I'll fine tune it after we're done. All right, so I'm going to turn this back up here. We're going to place this back on top. I just like to look and make sure everything looks good. So far we are, there we go. I don't think that was fully seated. All right, so we will put this back on. I just want to make sure I get everything inside. There are little grooves on here, so it'll only go on one way. That's actually nice. Wasn't expecting that. 4 screws back on here. We're getting there. I know we're 20 minutes into this video. I wasn't expecting it to take this long either. But I feel like this is one of these things that if you did this more than once, you'd probably cut 10 minutes off your time. Because a lot of this was just me being kind of cautious and wanting to make sure that I didn't over torque stuff or break something that, you know, once you mess with it like this, you wonder if they're going to cover either warranty or not. So we're going to take our time and we're not going to worry about that. Also, in case any of you are wanting to do this, I want to make sure we walk through everything. Here's some more. I'm going to have to. I didn't see any on the rest of that. Hopefully there's none on the back. I'll take this off and verify that before we get started on the other side. Okay, so this seals on the back side of the power supply and then comes through here. So again, just like this. From here on out, we'll use the same screws that we did on the inside. We will not use those 4 aggressive ones. Those were just on one part of it. All right, on to this one. So just like on that last one, we'll kind of start these off slowly. I'm gonna lay this on its side like we did this part. This will give you a good view of the front, kind of. And it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 total. I'm just gonna get 1 or 2 threads in on this first one and 1 or 2 threads on the rest of them, and then when we get all of those installed, we'll start tightening down. I just know we kind of had some, the last one on this front side was a little tricky to get in. And I'd rather just be a little slower with it and have it all in there. Go down here again. This is where you end up dropping 2 or 3 screws off the screwdriver and end up driving you nuts. So far, so good. These all seem to be going in good and straight. Everything's lining up. And yeah, you can look inside. I know you can't see it, but from my side in here, there is a huge opening and more space for more hash boards. I don't know if this power supply will support 1200 watts, but that might be an upgrade for us to look into in the future to try to figure out how we can get more into this. You know, the board's already, the control board already has all of the connections for it, maybe a firmware update. I mean, this power supply is already getting fed with 240 volts. I believe the KS2s also take 170 watts. I'll have to verify that. I don't want to tell you the wrong information, but I'm pretty confident that that's what it is with those two. We're about snugged up on all of these. This, I'm telling you, is a very nice, I assume this is, the way it looks is 3D printed, but it is solid. I don't think this is going to be, this will probably outlast the miner as far as how long before it has to be upgraded. All right, and the last thing we do here, you see there's an opening here. They send a little sticker with their logo on it, Fruition Designs. I'm telling you right now, I would buy this again in a heartbeat. Just goes right there, hold on to it. That blocks any exhaust from coming out this hole. It forces it all through here. All right, next up, how does this work? So, 8-inch hose clamp. Fan just sits right in there like this. Now this is not something you want to over tighten, you just want it snug. Basically, as long as it makes a seal, as long as it keeps this fan from moving and pushes the air through it, it's good. And this little 4-foot table I got from Menards. Whatever hardware store you have should have it. It's just like a folding card table. This is 4 foot wide, completely fits this. I also do have, I don't have it on right now, an 8-inch exhaust hose. I'm gonna run it through the garage or the basement, kind of put it in an area where hopefully some of the heat coming out of this will help heat some of the bedrooms in the back of the house. So we'll see, it may not be enough. And if not, that's fine. I'm not trying to get my house warmed by this. This doesn't put off enough power that I think that would do that. So the next up is this fan. There are 10 settings on it. I've seen people be able to keep these cool on the second setting. Fruition recommends 3/4 power. We'll kind of monitor it. I have not gotten into the software side of this to see what kind of options I have. If I can set a automatic shutdown kind of situation where it will, if the temperatures get too high, it'll just shut itself off. That's my hope. If not, I'll start high and then kind of ramp it down until it gets to a point to where it's not as loud. Even on the 10 out of 10 setting, I did have this on in my kitchen. It was still quieter than what those 4 fans would have been. So in my basement, away from everything with a quieter fan, my hope is that I won't even notice this other than our hash rate and our electricity. So I just kicked it on. This is 2. I don't know if you can hear that, but it's blowing. I mean, there's air coming out. This is 3. Again, it's quiet and it's moving some good air. 4, 5, still quieter than what any of those fans would be. 6, starting to get louder. You can still feel the heat. I'll probably start off in this range at first, given the area of the basement it's at, but I'm still talking to you in a normal voice, and while this is probably annoying if it was all the time, it's still not bad. We'll go ahead and ramp it all the way up, but when this thing is on 10, it will literally push itself across the table if it's not hooked up. This is 10 out of 10. So you can see how powerful it is. I didn't have it all the way down, and when it turned to 10, it pushed itself out. So I'll have to prop this up just a tiny bit and then tighten this down a lot. I don't want to over tighten it. I'd much rather screw it into this table before breaking one of these tabs. I also was fortunate to find a guy who's an electrician, but he makes custom cables for ASIC miners. So this has the end for here, and then we ended up doing a 3-prong like that you would use for a dryer here in the US. I'd basically just asked him what he had available that he could get out the quickest, and he said that he had a ton of these. This is fine. I went to Menards and found it's essentially a box where you just run the wire into it, hooked it up into the wall to hold it stable, ran the wires up through it, connected it. This will just plug in, and that'll be it. There's an on and off switch back here, which we'll use to start it. Other than that, this is it. It's ready. 1 terahash. This is going to almost double our Kaspa mining. We went there for a while doing 1 BNB per week burns, but at the time, Kaspa was 15 cents and BNB was $240. Since then, Kaspa went down a little bit. It's around 11 cents. Not a huge difference, but as we all know, BNB went on a run to about $320. So as far as token count, we're below that, but our dollar amounts have actually kept up with it. Adding this, we know there's 2 other miners floating out there that my hope is that maybe they'll be online before next week's burn. So our burn on the 19th, my hope is to have all 3 of these miners up and running, really kind of see where we're at. We're still trying to finalize adding some more. The issue is trying to find electricity coverage. We don't want to start pulling off the grid and getting off task of what we are planning to do here. But as we kind of close that out, we really are at the step of hosting sites. And that's really exciting, because then as we start getting hosting sites involved, we're getting other people involved that maybe don't know about us, who might want to invest, who might have equipment that maybe isn't able to be sold, that we can get at discount rates and start looking into things like that. Overall, I'm really happy with how this went together. I would 100% buy this again. As you can see by how powerful this fan is, this is going to have no issue keeping a 600 watt machine cool. By the time this video is uploaded, this will actually be up and running. I won't do that until it's ready. The only thing I really have to do, I want to check that 1 screw and get it tightened up good. And I just got to take this down to my basement and get it hooked up. I already have the electric ran, the outlets ready to go, new breakers installed in my panel. Ethernet's ran down to it. It's ready to go. So all I got to do is turn this off and get to work. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. We're closing in on about 34 minutes. If you made it to this far, thank you very much. As you can see, I have on one of our new shirts, and get you some tokens, get you some shirts. If you're able to mine, hop on with us, and everyone that joins us is going to help us all get to our goals. Thank you, and I'll see you later. Bye.